Welcome to Table Talk. I'm Rich.
And I'm Alex.
And today's Table Talk.
That was me. Alright, sorry. Alright, great. Auspicious beginning.
Oh my god. Welcome to Table Talk. I'm Rich.
And I'm Alex. And today's table talk is life.
Life. We are talking about life. This is our first episode of Table Talk. This is crazy. We're here.
Yeah,
We did it, dude.
We did it.
This is great.
Against all odds.
Yeah, against a lot of odds. If you
Lot
could
of
see
odds.
how our camera is set up right now, you'd be laughing at us. We're laughing at it.
Yes.
Yeah, so the game of life. So basically, guys, this is a show, a podcast. We're going to throw it up on a lot of different places. And we're basically just pairing beer, which we have in front of us. This is beer. I don't know if you've seen this before, but this is what beer looks like.
This is beer.
Slightly urine-ish in color.
Not in flavor.
Not in flavor. No. It's a little bit better. Slightly better. What's the TV quote? I drink my urine because it's sterile and I like the taste. What movie is that?
I don't know.
Okay. All right.
I'll get back to that later.
All right. You're gonna have a lot of angry comments probably.
Okay. No, sorry.
It's dodgeball. But,
Oh.
So anyway, but this is beer. This is our board game. So we pair them together. The board game is the Game of Life, which hopefully a lot of you are familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, the concept of this show is that we are going to constantly be pairing these two things. So the theme for today is life. The beers that are in front of us, I have a Goose Island Summertime.
And I have Corona Extra.
These are the first beers that we ever drank in life / liked in life. So we'll talk more about those here pretty shortly. Few things right off the bat. We're not really beer nerds. We're not really game geeks.
No.
We barely even know each other. We're just here because we like beer and board games and how they interact together.
Yeah.
So yeah, and how long have we actually known each other?
I think like almost a year, which in New
Very-
York,
yeah.
in New York City time, for those of you guys who either live in New York or a large city like New York, you will know that a year is like that when you see people.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
A lot
been
of
year.
turnover.
A lot of turnover.
That's also a good point. We're shooting right now out of Brooklyn, New York. We both live in Brooklyn, and that's where we're operating out of. Brew and Boards is my company that I started. It's basically we do beer and board games events here in Brooklyn. So look us up.
They're a lot of fun.
Yeah, at Brew and Boards on Instagram and on Twitter. So look us up there. But without any further ado, I think I'm thirsty enough.
Yes.
We should
Cheers.
definitely cheers. There you go.
Here's episode 1.
Episode 1. We'll definitely have better beer later on in the episode to crack.
Tastes like a Mexican beach and a sunset. This is
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah. Just so you know, this is not our favorite beer.
No.
By far. It's just the first beer we ever drank / liked. Your first beer is actually what?
My first beer was a Killian's Red,
Which apparently is impossible to find.
at least in New York City.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but yeah.
I could not find it at all. But yeah, this isn't bad. We'll start with the game. Hopefully this is a game a lot of you are familiar with. This show is kind of a little tongue-in-cheek. We talk about the game. We are going to do a game rating. But we're not going to spend a lot of time playing the game because you probably don't want to spend a half hour to an hour watching us play the Game of Life. That
In
would
particular,
probably
the Game of Life.
be very boring. Boom. This is the Game of Life. So this is actually the 2017. This is a very recent edition of the Game of Life. So the original, if you're our age, which is late 20s, early 30s, the original game was a little bit different, looked a little bit different. The spinny thing is super kind of up to date. I remember this thing being very confusing and it would spin forever. This one spins for about 5
Yeah, it kind of matches today's attention span, honestly.
Yes, absolutely. So that's the game that we're comparing. So if you don't know, if you haven't ever played the game before, what happens is you get a little car. It looks like this. It's a little plastic car. We put a male and a female in there because we're both happily married. I don't have a green car though.
I don't have a blue car. I don't even have a car, actually.
Yeah. That's very smart.
I realize how much I fulfill the stereotype of everyone in Brooklyn. I have a bicycle and a beard.
Very soon though. I'm getting rid of my car very soon.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah.
It's gonna be so happy. So if you don't know, in the city you have to move your car back and forth. It's I don't want to get into it. But I have started us off on the college route. So if you don't know, it's basically like if you ever play Candyland or anything like that, you're moving your pieces across the board, going space by space, and the spaces prompt you to draw cards. You're going to start off either by choosing a career or going to college. It's a lot of it makes a lot of basic assumptions about life that don't apply to everybody's life.
For instance.
Yeah. For instance, neither of us own a house. We live in apartments. That's pretty much the standard here. But yeah, so it's the game of life. You get a job. You walk through the life. The whole point of the game is to make the most money, which we can probably go deeper into about how that's a little wrong. But yeah, that's the game. It was created in 1860 by Milton Bradley.
Mr. Bradley.
Mr. Bradley.
Who's named Milton these days?
I don't know anybody named Milton. I don't even know if it's a guy's name.
Oh,
Is Milton really a guy's name?
I would
assume so.
Yeah.
But yeah, 1860.
1860. So let's set the stage in 1860. So there's a few things that didn't exist at that point. So the Brooklyn Bridge was not completed until 1883. So if you think about so that's 23 years of playing life before the Brooklyn Bridge. Right. So you were stuck in Brooklyn you had to take the ferry. to get
so
to
were
the
these
yard.
were these horse and buggies then?
That's very astute of you. That's probably true. I guess it was like you would buy the horse first.
Yeah.
And then I guess you go to the Ivy League, but that or you probably joined most of the America at the time and just being a manual labor person.
Right. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I'm assuming like wooden pegs or something. We didn't really do a lot of research on
That's
this, but I think it was a little more basic. I don't think they had the whole cardboard layout.
Yeah, and cardboard hadn't even been a thing at that point.
When was cardboard invented?
That I don't know. I do not know when
I
cardboard was invented. Anyone is welcome to comment on that and figure that out.
Would have been very
please. The other thing that I've been thinking about, so 1860, so that's before the Civil War, the American Civil War.
Correct.
And that was, I believe, right before Abraham Lincoln became president. So hypothetically, it is possible that Mr. Lincoln himself was playing Milton Bradley's game.
I think he was a life player.
He might have been a life player. And can you imagine him playing this game on a train to Illinois for, against Stephen Douglas, some debate or something for the Senate?
Yeah, it was probably a good distraction from the Gettysburg Address. All the stresses of.
Hang on, General. Before I give the address, I got to do one more spin.
One more spin.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure like wherever his headquarters was set up, what he was, he probably just had it like in his tent.
Yeah.
Like just all the time. And he probably hosted like a whole bunch of like officers, and.
I've always wondered why the Gettysburg Address is so short. And maybe he just wanted to get back.
Yeah,
get back to
it's like.
Anyway, yeah.
That was 40 and however many years ago.
Yeah.
2 to 6 players can play life. There's 2 players in this experience that we're having right now in life. The modern version this version that we know and love was published in 1960. So it's a very 1960s view of life. It's changed a little bit. This latest one actually has pets that you can add.
Very millennial.
Yes. So there's actually a lot of paw prints on this board that. So there's a lot of things that can happen with pets. They can go to the vet. You got to take care of them. It's actually part of the permanent collection of the Smithsonian National Museum of American History.
Well.
Yeah. That's a good first board game to have.
That's, guys, is your scavenger hunt checklist for when you go visit Washington, D.C.
Yes. Yes, yeah. Go see the Game of Life.
Game of Life.
But yeah, I think we chose a good game for the first episode.
My question: do you know if it's the original game from 1860, or I would assume the 1960s?
No. I think the 1960s version is what this is. It's kind of replicating.
Okay. All right.
I think the 1860s version, in all honesty, guys, I think the 1860s version was more of like a checkers type of thing.
Okay.
That kind of followed the same concept of like life, but I think it was more of like a wooden pegs and kind of more like a checkers setup.
Got it. Okay.
So pairing it with our beer. So we're
Yes.
going to talk a little bit about the beer,
Yes.
which is the most important part. So Goose Island, it's a Chicago brewery. It's now owned by Anheuser-Busch, but it was a microbrewery back in the day. So I had my first beer on a boat in Morse Reservoir in Noblesville, Indiana.
That sounds pretty epic.
Yeah. It wasn't as epic as you'd probably think. So actually, there's a good story behind this. So it was my brother. I have a brother that's about a year older than me.
Okay.
Just under a year older than me. It was his bachelor's party.
Okay.
I had just created, speaking of board games, I had just created a Risk board that you used tiles that you painted.
Oh, cool.
I had painted on them, land and ocean, and then all land, all ocean. You custom made, using dice as a random factor, you custom made a whole world, and then you put a piece of glass over the top of it, and you could Sharpie all the territories in.
And you made this up entirely?
I made this entire, it took
That's
me a whole
impressive.
summer. Took me a whole summer to do all this. I hand made like the wood framing for it, and then you slid all the tiles in. And it had a grid system and everything.
Cool.
Hopefully, one of these days, if we can bring it, it's in Indiana right now, but it'd be cool to kind of bring it out and show. But it took 2 toolboxes to hold all the tiles, and the board itself was about the size of this table, probably even bigger.
Wow.
So I had made that, and we played that game at my brother's. The bachelor party.
Okay.
And then we all decided to go out in a boat at like randomly afterwards.
In the reservoir.
Yeah, in a reservoir. Well, there's not a lot of water in Indiana, so
How big was the reservoir?
big enough. It's like a lake.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's just like a lake. I mean, if you walk up to it, it looks exactly like a lake.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean that's basically what a lake was to us in
Okay.
Indiana. I mean, there's some lakes in Indiana, but the reservoir is the closest thing.
Okay.
And
That's
people had boats and they had docks and everything on it. And
Wow.
yeah, so we went out in the boat, and I was not of age. You can cuff me if you want.
No.
I was about a year later, or a year early. But it's a Kolsch. It's not very heavy. It was the only beer I drank the whole night. It was a wonderful summer night. It was beautiful. It's a very happy memory of mine. So it's very nice to actually be drinking it again.
Brings back the memories.
It does.
Bring back the reservoir.
Mm-hmm.
Can't say that word.
The sweet smell of reservoir water. Reservoir water. But yes. Yeah. So what's the story behind the Corona?
So.
And Killian's.
Well, okay, Killian's. I don't know any particular other than that it's known as a Killian's Red. It's an Irish beer,
Right.
and the story briefly behind that is on my 21st birthday. And yes, I am a nerd. I actually waited, and it was mostly because I wasn't really interested in beer in general.
That's fine.
But I also went to a school where it was either you don't drink or you like go to the hospital by how much drinking is involved. So I kind of was like,
There's no happy medium.
yeah, and I figure it's not really worth it.
Right.
So I waited, and my dad drove up, and we had my 21st birthday in an Irish restaurant. It was very nice.
Okay.
And he gives me the Killian's Red, and he says, try this. And I couldn't stand it. I didn't like it at all. And he says, okay, well, how about the sampler? And he gives me, I guess it's what, 7, 5,
Yeah.
7, something like that. And
Usually about 5,
yeah,
I think.
yeah. And I didn't like a single one of them, actually.
Really?
None of them. And I think I tried the Sierra Nevada one, a few others. Memory escapes me there.
Right.
It took me about a year. No, I guess it was later the following summer.
Mm-hmm.
And tried Corona, and it was at the beach with the rest of my family, and I came to enjoy it. but it is also because of the lime factor, which I
Which
know
we don't
for
have.
those of you
Sorry.
guys who are watching this is probably a heresy, but there is supposed to be lime here. To which I looked up that fact. You know, there is no actual explained reason as to why the lime is a thing with
I thought
Corona.
it was like the acidity.
A little bit. I think it also was a perfect marketing way to
Because it
like
squeezes it right
stand
into the
out.
bottle.
Yeah, to squeeze, and it's also that look. If you look at all the commercials, they do such a good job for marketing.
Yeah.
Which brings me to another point. So it started in 1925 is when they first started to brew it in Mexico, and then it didn't actually it wasn't imported into the United States until 1979. So there's that long time where it's
So
just
Game
kind
of Life is older than Corona?
Yeah,
I guess that
it
is
is.
older.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But yeah, and then it is now the 4th best-selling beer on the planet. So here's the Corona in that sense. It's not obviously the most flavorful. Obviously, I enjoy it just as well as most people, especially at the beach. It's very nice in the summer, but it's definitely more of a nostalgic beer for me more than anything else.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, that's the point. It's nostalgia. It brings back good vibes, and yeah, and that's what we want. This is fun. This is why we do it. We're the game of life. You have first experiences, your first pet, your first marriage, like
Only marriage.
your only marriage. But yeah, like you're experiencing firsts in the game of life, and this is our first. Yeah, I think we could also talk about our favorite beer in life, but that changes by the week. I think at this point.
I think what's interesting. So for those of you guys, just a little bit about me briefly. In the past, when I first moved to Brooklyn, I actually became a tour guide, and I would lead people around the city, and I learned all sorts of things about New York in general, both past and present. And one thing that was interesting was to see a lot of European tourists, in particular Germans, the Dutch, English. I said Germans already. What am I thinking? Belgians as well. A lot of them would actually say, "Hey, we're really starting to like your beer, being American beer, and the fact that the craft brewing industry in the United States is growing to such a
They're
big
coming
degree."
around.
Yeah, it really is. And it was interesting to hear that because I remember it was usually everyone drinking the European beers were always considered the superior over the American beers.
Right.
And now it seems, not necessarily, I don't want to lay claim that American beers are better, but at the very least it feels like they're more competitive.
Right.
So.
Well, and American beer is late to the game too. I mean, American craft beer hasn't really been on the scene since, the 70s.
Yeah.
It's
taken a while.
I mean, it's taken a long time for it to actually develop into what it is today.
Mhm.
So, and as we move forward, guys, if you're watching this thinking like if they're just going to talk about games like the Game of Life and they're going to drink beer like Corona or whatever, like this is it's a very purposeful setup. So as you can see behind us, we have a lot of games. This is just kind of the collection that we put together for the background. But we're going to get into a lot more in-depth games. I like more in-depth games. I'm kind of a Euro gamer, like high strategy. I think I'm definitely probably more of the gamer out of the two of us.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to be introducing a lot of stuff. And like I said, this is more just kind of like us getting together. We're actually probably going to talk more about ourselves than we are about the games. So be prepared for that. Here's what I had in mind. All right. So the Game of Life has these cards. All right.
I'll give you one.
Well, this is the pet. We don't have any pets. I don't have any pets.
Well, let's get into why. Why don't you have pets?
I don't have pets because I live in a studio apartment with my lovely wife. We live in a studio apartment that is barely big enough for the two of us. We do have a fish. Our fish's name is Dano.
Well, Dano would be insulted if you didn't count him as your pet then.
Dano is, okay, well, I'll count him.
Okay.
He is a beta fish. He's very active in his swimming around in circles. It's very entertaining. I have no emotional connection to fish. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's a fish. I wish I had a dog. I wish we had room for a cat or something. Get into cat loving and dog loving. I probably prefer dogs more. Fish are just kind of way off into the distance. I like seeing it in the background, just kind of moving and knowing that there's something alive over there that I can kind of care about. But I don't know, maybe I'm cold. Dano's a great fish, is what I'm trying to say. And Andy, my wife, if you're watching, I love our fish. It's a great fish.
It's a great fish. Though I want to know more about the name.
Dano is, I didn't name it. My wife and Alex's wife are both die-hard Hawaii Five-0 fans. Yes. So Dano was, I thought you knew that.
No, I didn't know.
Oh, yeah.
I also forget the characters to Hawaii Five-0, but
Yeah,
that's
as you should.
Wow. All right.
Oh man! All right. So, but yeah, Dano is a character, which actually the actor who plays Dano, I don't know his name, but he's actually I like him a lot he's in the Ocean's 11 movies.
Yeah. Name is on the tip of my tongue. He'll come back later.
Yeah.
He's a
The hair.
he's a Khan. Caan. It's not James Caan. That's his father.
Oh, I thought you meant he's a con. C-O-N.
No. Well, he's a con. He's a con artist in
Double
Ocean's
entendre.
11. Yeah. Interesting.
I think that's what that means. But yeah.
I'll remember later.
Anyway, but yeah, we do have a fish. You guys don't have any pets?
I'll do a quick little intro. No pets at this moment. I grew up with pets. A dog and a bird, actually, that is still living with my parents currently. But like Rich and his wife Andy, we also have a very small place. So we don't want to put a pet in a very small area. So.
Wait, how old's your bird?
He is let's see. His birthday, hatch day, I guess, would be 1998. So that makes him 21 years old. He's still living, still doing fine.
Wow. So the reason I ask is throw your pet a birthday card on this card. So, do you know the month?
May.
Coming up?
May. He already had it.
Oh, we already had it.
Yeah.
Well, happy birthday.
Thanks.
What's
Rufus?
Happy
appreciates
birthday,
that.
Rufus.
Yeah.
No idea when Dano's birthday is. So, but
That's
we can
alright.
celebrate. What's your pet card say?
My pet card is teach your pet a new trick. I don't think Rufus is exactly the kind of pet that learns new tricks. But yeah.
All right. So Dano has a trick. So we gave him a little hut, a Hawaiian hut.
Okay. That's very appropriate.
Yeah. But sometimes every so often he'll swim through the hut.
Okay.
It's amazing.
Do you train him with food?
No.
Or he just goes through?
I consider it the only trick a fish could ever do.
That's a pretty good trick.
Yeah.
I mean, there's one though I heard about that actually got stuck in a dentist's office, and then a bunch of other fish
Wait, I've
helped him
heard this
escape.
story before.
And then they never mind.
Did they
If you can't guess now,
have to find the fish?
yeah.
There's a
and they
story
did.
about finding a fish.
Yeah, finding the fish.
All right.
Yeah, it rhymes with
Klima.
Yes, it rhymes with Klimo. Klimo.
Klimo.
That's
Something. It's on the tip of my tongue.
Elmo, Nino.
You're a clownfish. Tell us a joke.
For a clownfish is not that funny.
Not that funny. All right.
Anyway, that aside, so fish and bird.
Fish
Done.
and bird. Pets are done.
Let's talk about what you got next.
I got college next.
We got college.
Let's talk about college.
Let's talk about.
Well, we kind of talked about childhood a little. I mean, this is. Before we get to college, I can't talk about my college without talking about where I grew up. So I'm from. We live in Brooklyn. I'm from Indiana originally.
I'm from Virginia originally.
So, like most New Yorkers, we're from other places. My wife and I met while we were in college. So I did go to college at Ball State University. Chirp, chirp. That's the only time I will do that on camera.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's the last.
Someone make a GIF of this.
No, don't make a gif of it. So did I tell you the story about going to a football game?
No.
Okay, so this is a quick story. I went to my first college. So I played football all through high school.
Mm-hmm.
Never got to be like in the stands with the students. And I go to my first like school football game where I'm in the stands. I'm part of the student body, and the guy in front, like 5 bleacher seats down in front of me, stands up and he turns around to everybody and he's like, all right, is everybody ready? It's like third down or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, everybody ready? And then I was like, oh, this is our big cheer. Like I got to learn this. This is our big cheer. And this was freshman year, Ball State University. They were undefeated. I think they were undefeated. It was a really good football year. All right. Nowadays, I don't know what the record is. It's probably not very great. I'm losing track of how many people I'm probably pissing off in this video, but that's probably going to be a regular thing. So anyway, we were probably, it was a good year to cheer for them. The guy stands up and he's like, all right, is everybody ready? He gets everybody ready. I'm standing there. I'm ready. And he goes, all right, 3, 2, 1. And he puts his fingers up like this. And he goes, chirp, chirp, chirp. And I was like,
You couldn't go along? Just go along with it.
It was like I was ready for like a sway to the right, sway to the left. Like I was ready for like a big cheer, and it was just chirp, chirp, chirp.
Well, if you thought that birds were ferocious, you know what my mascot was?
What?
An orange.
Oh dear.
Oh dear, yes. We were an orange. Still are, apparently.
Wait, it's Virginia.
No,
No.
Syracuse. I went to Syracuse.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in upstate New York, Syracuse, in the central area of the grand state that is the Empire State of New York, Syracuse is kind of tucked away slightly south of, I believe it's Lake Ontario. It's about an hour and a half drive south of Lake Ontario. And our mascot is the Orange. It used to be the Orange Men.
That's
the
right.
Men is gone.
That's right.
And then it changed into Orange, which is great.
Yes.
The challenge is, how do you make an orange ferocious? And
Give it teeth.
yeah, but then the orange with teeth is kind of just strange. It's very
Orange
strange.
with eyes or anything.
Any fruit, yeah.
I still think the Tropicana, like the straw inside the orange.
Yeah.
I think that's ridiculous as well.
Yeah, well,
That's disturbing.
But at least you Tropicana, it's like you're actually drinking orange juice, right?
Right, but you don't. That's not how you drink orange juice.
No,
They're insinuating that you.
it's marketing.
Well, I understand.
It's all about marketing.
I understand.
It's all about marketing, Rich.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all the lime and yeah.
Right.
So yeah, Syracuse for me, and I did not meet my wife in college. I met her in L.A. I lived in L.A. for a good bit,
Mm-hmm.
and oddly enough, we were both in the same hometown in Virginia, but it took us to meet in L.A.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Like I said, we don't know each other
Yeah.
that well.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that's crazy. So orange.
Yeah.
And Irish. So Notre Dame Irish. So
Yeah.
Notre Dame is part of our history. South
Yeah.
Bend is where we're from.
Yeah.
But both are part of like one of or two of the like 10 schools that don't have a mascot ending in an S.
Interesting.
Yes.
Well, I know there's the Dartmouth Green. There's something that has to do with green something.
Yeah.
And maybe that's one of them. You know, there's 2 baseball teams I know that don't end in S.
Like Major League?
Yeah, you know what they are.
Oh man, baseball. Again, not to piss off any baseball fans. No.
I'll give you a hint.
No, I don't know.
You wear them every day.
I wear them.
You wear them every day.
Oh.
Maybe not the exact color variety, but you wear a pair of them
Pair of them.
every day when you put on your shoes.
Sock. But that ends in S.
No, it ends in X. They spell it SOX.
Oh.
Yeah, a little trickery there. Yeah.
Goddamn. Sorry. All right. Whatever.
So
Socks.
to
What's the other one? Was there another?
White Sox and Red Sox.
Oh, they're both X.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Old teams too, which is great. I love that it's very classy.
All right. So what's your
Oh yeah,
You went to college at
I went
Syracuse.
to college at Syracuse.
I went to college at Ball State.
Yeah.
But what does our Game of Life college say about us?
Apparently, I'm a secret agent. and my salary is $100,000 a year. Boy,
What? Let me see that.
straight out of college, and that's not even straight out of college. It's in college. That did not happen to me, nor has it happened.
Secret agent. Well, you wouldn't be able to tell us.
Yeah, that is also true. I did grow up in DC.
I was gonna say you have a
I did
DC
grow up outside
background.
DC, so you never know.
Well, we can skip mine then.
Well, what's
Uh,
yours? What's yours?
I'm a fashion designer.
Hey, no shame, man. You know, I was just reading about the 1990s basketball jerseys. Those design, the Toronto Raptor Barney Dinosaur design. You guys should look that up. 99% Invisible does a great design, fashion jersey discussion. That rabbit hole. We'll leave that there.
Yeah.
Roman Mars.
Yeah.
Check it out.
My salary is $80,000.
That's
Which
not
actually
bad.
is not bad.
That's
for
not bad.
a fashion designer.
Yeah.
I'm assuming I'm established fashion designer. I mean, who's rolling out of college as a fashion designer making $80,000?
Someone is.
I mean, no, Ball State. Sorry. Okay, never mind. I'm sorry. I'm done. I'm done bashing them.
All right.
All right. So we're out of the college phase. Let's just kind of move through to our career phase.
Career.
Oh
yeah.
I mean, we don't have to talk a lot about careers are boring. Work's boring. What I feel like my career. I mean, I do student housing, which is basically selling student housing here in the city, which boring. But Brewing Boards really has kind of been my career here for the last year and a half, which is beer and board games and doing events here in the city. So, but yeah, technically my career is in student housing. So
It's okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you got some exciting news.
Oh yeah. Well, I started a new job
Yeah.
in sales,
Yeah.
but I actually, in particular, really like this company,
Mm-hmm.
and it's software developing, which is, sorry, it's a creative website developing software. I'm still kind of learning the ins and outs.
Right.
I'm going to abstain the name for now. That'll come out later in the conversation.
Right.
But
right.
yeah, sales guy. My passion on weekends, I should say, is kind of doing similar to what we're doing, in that I'm a filmmaker. I tell stories visually, and then I write on the side. So
That's interesting.
yeah,
I didn't know that about you either. Obviously, I knew that about him because we're doing this.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason that
we
we're
have
doing
this set
this.
up. Yeah.
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 So what's this your job?
My career is inventor, which I really like, but I don't understand.
So wait, so you're a secret agent. You got a degree in secret agency?
I guess the thing that I don't understand is that okay, so secret agency. I go to college and I get $100K salary, and I go an inventor and I do $80K, which I'm thinking there's a lot of synergy involved with an inventor and secret agent put together.
You're
This is like
inventing a new identity.
this is like James Bond. I mean,
Yeah,
really,
you're basically James Bond.
This is James. I'm James Bond.
Yeah.
That's my life.
You're
now.
like 006.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. -1,
Yeah.
I guess.
We should also say for the listeners, right?
Yes.
Because we do have listeners. Not everybody's watching.
Oh yes.
That-
Hello, listeners.
Hello, listeners. If you're
Appreciate
listening to this and you don't have any idea what's going on, we have cards in front of us that we're reading from the Game of Life that are telling us what we're doing. So if you're listening and you have no idea what's going on, that's what's going on. My card says I'm an actor.
Well done.
Yes. 100,000. I don't want to brag.
I feel like that's a
60
pretty
bits.
good. I mean, what TV show did you hop on board?
I'm a fashion designer.
Okay. So
I have a
can see the
career. I
transition.
have a career in fashion design, or a degree in fashion design, but I became an actor.
See, I see the through line in that. For me,
Yeah, it's a creative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I feel like that puts me on Will and Grace. I don't know. Like, what's a good show that kind of?
I mean, you could be on Mad Men if it was still playing.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot out there. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm okay with actor.
Yeah.
As my career, making 100,000. I feel like I'm kind of jealous of your abilities over there.
I mean, I'm kind of jealous of my
But we're
Game
both-
of Life abilities.
We're both
This
80
is-
and 100. That's interesting too.
I guess it all evens out.
All right, where do we live? Our house. Did you draw a house card?
Boy.
So there's house cards as well. We don't own houses. We're not homeowners.
No.
Not at this point in our lives, at least. Not in New York City. So we rent apartments. Yeah, right. I'll drink to that as well. So renting apartments in New York City. So my wife and I live in Brooklyn Heights. It's a nice little neighborhood in Brooklyn, right next to the Brooklyn Bridge. So we have, like I said, we have a studio apartment, one room, just the two of us. No kids. We're just kind of chilling. So that's our living arrangement.
Studio loft
Yeah.
for me. So my wife and I live in this little skinny neighborhood called Gowanus. And if you ever watch Blue Bloods, there's an occasional reference to that neighborhood. But it surrounds one of the most polluted waterways in New York City, the Gowanus Canal.
It's beautiful.
Oh, it is beautiful. We say we almost have a waterfront view, almost.
If you call it water.
If you call it water. I mean, you see an occasional duck, it swims around, it's fine. Hasn't keeled over yet. So,
one leg.
So, yeah, studio loft for us. So for those of you guys who may not know or have seen a loft for apartment spaces,
Cool.
It's simply the studio space is kind of typical studio, but there's also a loft space where usually something like the bed or the dresser or the desk or something large can actually go up there. So in our case, it's the bed and the clothing dresser to go up there, which is helpful because it gets that out of the way and lets us host
Yes.
a few people anyway.
Yes.
So yeah,
Movie nights.
movie nights. That's where it's at.
When's the next movie night?
It'll be July, early-ish July, and we're likely going to see The Way Back, which is the Sam Rockwell and Steve Carell,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll come to me. She's an Australian actress, and she is fantastic, and I'm forgetting the name. I feel really bad if you're listening to this. Awesome Australian actress. What is her name? Begins with a T. I'll think of it later.
We're going to need at some point probably like a monitor in front of us so we can see all of this.
Thank you guys for watching this for the first time.
Bear with us.
Yeah.
But that reminds me.
Yeah.
Watched an amazing movie recently.
Yeah.
So this is gonna happen probably. We like movies.
Deathbridge.
So, Into the Spider-Verse.
Ooh, fun.
Just hit Netflix, so I watched it.
Cool.
Amazing.
I have not seen it.
Yeah.
But I heard that they spent almost a year just doing a particular clip or sequence. It was like maybe 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And they spent an entire year animating just that one sequence.
I can imagine which sequence it is. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think it was, as far as my friend who's
It's the finale of the movie, I think.
well, my friend who's a graphic or a VFX designer was telling me that a lot of it had to do with they wanted to establish the look and the feel, the aesthetic of the piece.
Right.
So they knew they had to nail whatever that
Right.
scene was.
Right.
I don't know. I have great respect for animated films because nothing is by accident in animated films. Nothing just happens by chance or by luck.
Right.
Which can often happen with live action.
Mm-hmm.
So if you watch an animated movie with that in mind, even if it is, I don't know, Trolls or whatever movie that's kid movie per se, Wreck-It Ralph. Every single detail down to the single hair strand coming out of someone's head in the shot had to be purposefully made.
Right.
Which is, in my mind, an act of utter creation.
It's
which
very
is really
creative.
cool.
It's very beautifully done.
Yeah.
Recommendation. We can do recommendations. We'll do recommendations. Why
Right.
not? Into the Spider-Verse. Amazing movie.
Into the Spider-Verse.
Back to our houses. So
Back to the house.
I don't know where we're at here on the board.
Man.
We've kind of we've skipped over our family. We've talked about pets. We've talked about our wives.
We don't have kids, so that we can skip that option.
I mean, I think our houses come before our wives and our family, obviously. So we're somewhere right there.
Ouch.
All right.
Yeah.
Studio apartment. So what do you have?
I have a cozy cottage
Goodness gracious.
for a not so bad price. If this was in New York, this would be a slam dunk of a deal. $150,000.
Okay.
Which, interesting. You can
Cozy.
spin red or spin black, and depending on what you spin, the sale price changes. So I guess there's so in this version
Different colors.
you have red and black in the
Yeah,
middle.
Yeah.
So that I guess helps define some of the prices here.
Interesting.
What did you get?
I'm living in a ranch.
Not bad.
Yeah, it's a ranch with a horse that has way too much teeth.
Oh, an actual ranch. I thought you meant like a ranch design house, but you're talking about ranch.
No, ranch.
A ranch ranch.
Yeah, it's ranch.
Nice.
It does look like it has a second story, so it's not really traditional, I guess, a ranch house. But yeah, I'm more concerned about the horse that I've inherited with this.
Here, trade you.
It's got a lot of teeth.
Well,
a lot of
teeth
for a
aren't
horse.
bad. He does look a little crazed.
Yeah, you look. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna sell that horse.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a little bow-legged, so not. I just I don't know if I want to trust it on my ranch.
Well, just have him run in the Derby. That'll work.
But yeah, it's a $600,000 purchase price
For the horse?
Yeah. yeah, just for the horse.
Just
And
for
then,
the horse.
Yeah, they're gonna throw the ranch in for free with the horse.
Okay.
The $600,000. I don't know if I would do that.
All right. Yeah.
For a ranch. Yeah, I'll take my studio apartment. I honestly will.
Yeah. I mean, that's a heck of a lawn to mow if you got that ranch. So.
Yeah. I don't know what the actions are. Hiking the Great Wall of China. That's something I've always wanted to do.
Oh. I learned a rather sobering fact about the Great Wall of China, in that they estimated, though they don't know the
Sober wasn't the word I thought we were going to use on this show.
But well, surprises every day. So
I'm finished, by the way.
well done. I'm thinking about that line. So the rough estimation of people who died making the Great Wall of China. You want to guess how many?
How many people died?
How many people died, went kaput, keeled over, or killed?
Great Wall of China.
The Great Wall of China. Guess how
Span.
many? Guess how many people?
It's either going to be huge or low. I'm going to say 0. Nobody died.
Well, I'd say you're a million off.
Okay. Well, is this going to be like astonishingly high or astonishingly low?
No, no one died.
So it was like, well, the easiest guess, I guess, would be 0.
I mean, I like the logic.
Yeah,
They estimate 1 million people. At least that's what I read. But
1 million people died building a
yeah,
wall?
1 million people died blown. I mean, I think about 50 people died building the Brooklyn Bridge, which obviously
That makes sense, though. It's over a body of water. Like,
it's true.
have you seen the bridge that they had to build to get up to the bridge?
That is true.
That thing was like it was like a rickety thing,
Yeah,
and
it's
it
kind of
was
trippy.
super
Yeah.
steep.
Well, I mean, but
No, thank you.
the biggest difference is in Great Wall of China, they likely didn't pay anyone. It was all
Yeah.
it was all enslaved workers.
Mhm.
Yeah. So anyway, Great Wall of China. That was your action. What's mine? Savannah Safari. What animals did you see? Wow.
I'm very jealous of your life.
I am too. I wish this was my actual life sometimes. I have not been to places like Uganda or Kenya or I think Zimbabwe is the other one that does different safaris. I've always wanted to go, in particular, to places like Uganda to be around where Lake Victoria is for Victoria Falls.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to go there.
Yeah.
Yet to go. But I want to see a giraffe in real life because those are the weirdest looking
You
animals.
haven't been to the zoo?
I mean, I have, but they can't, run around with their knobby knees. They got to give them some run.
You want to see it like in
I want to see them
full
full gallop.
All right.
Full giraffe gallop. Those are weird YouTube
Here's
videos.
my recommendation to you then: Planet Earth.
Ooh, well, that I have watched. Yeah.
But do you want to see it running at you?
No.
Okay.
No, that would be terrifying.
That would be terrifying.
I'd run beside it.
All right, so we talked about marriage. We talked about kids that we don't have. We've talked about jobs. We've talked about everything that the game of life kind of throws at you.
Oh, but we're forgetting the most important part.
Retirement.
In the game, anyway.
The most important part of the game is to make the most money and retire with the most money. So you can either go to you can go to a cozy place on this side of the game board, or you can go to like the mansion on the left side of the game where it has like a limo in front of it. Retirement is really something I'm hoping that I don't ever really have to do officially.
That is
my official stance.
That is a fascinating perspective to have as an American.
I think I want to officially retire from, like I said, my day job, which is selling housing or student housing or whatever.
Right.
I think I will officially retire from that someday. I'm not going to be a millionaire when I retire from that. But I do officially want to call that quits. Brewing boards, I want to be kind of at a point where I can focus on that full time. And being a business owner, I don't think you retire from being a business. I think eventually I'll probably want to step away a little bit further, but we'll see. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know where it's going to go from there. But I don't like the idea of just stopping my contributions to the workforce or to creativity in general. I think there's always going to be something I'm going to want to do.
That's true.
That's kind of my thought process.
I like that.
Yeah.
I am more on the line of. See, I'm kind of torn because I feel like it's good to be able to at least be in a certain situation to where you're not, if at all possible, not a particular burden to someone else.
Right.
And also knowing if I'm older, not having to, save every nickel,
Right.
that comes along.
Crawl around on the ground.
Right. That's how I collect. That's how I collect my nickels. And by then, nickels won't be worth, will probably be worth less than a penny at this point.
Right.
But there is a piece of me, also as a creative, that I don't think I'll ever stop working, whatever the work is. Because there's certain pieces about creative work, at least on my end, that it doesn't feel like work.
Right.
So I don't really see that ending. Like for me, honestly, one of my biggest inspirations, not necessarily as a person per se, but certainly as an artist and as a storyteller, is Clint Eastwood, of all people. And it's not necessarily because of the movies he's made these days. Though I did really like Gran Torino, which surprised me. I was not expecting to like it as much. And I loved Changeling, which was that's about early. I want to say it's like 1930s, 1940s LA. Yeah. Right when LA starts to become the town where everyone starts moving into, and Angelina Jolie plays this mother, whose boy has gone missing for years.
She plays Clint Eastwood's mother?
No, does not play Clint Eastwood's mother.
I was gonna say.
Clint Eastwood directs Angelina Jolie as a mother.
All right.
Yes.
All right.
And the kid has gone missing, and then all of a sudden the LA cops bring this kid and they say, "Hey, we found your kid." And Angelina, the character, looks at the kid and says, "That's not my kid." And the LA cops say, "Yes, it is." So then there's this kind of realization that the cops are having that, oh no, they actually made a mistake, that they brought the wrong kid. And they're not willing to publicly admit that they did wrong, so they try to shut her up. So it's great. It is a great film. I think
God bless LA.
Yeah, it's great. But Clint Eastwood, he I think he's 80. I want to say he's retired. No. John Williams is the other guy I was thinking of actually. John Williams is 87 and he's still composing music. He's still doing Star Wars. Yeah. Episode 9. Yeah. Return of Skywalker, the Rise of Skywalker, the something of Skywalker. Yeah. It's coming. You're singing Jurassic Park.
Yeah, that's Jurassic.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry.
It's still it's John Williams. Yeah. But yeah. So bringing it back, retirement. I like the idea of being financially secure-ish, I guess. The thing, honestly, to be honest though, and this may be my experience, seeing my family go through the recession, I don't really trust
the system.
Kinda like, and not that may be going down the rabbit hole too much. But there's a piece of me that's thinking like I'm not going to depend on that as the only option that I will depend on later in life.
That's a healthy, I think, outlook to have. Not putting your eggs in one basket type of thing. Yeah, I get that. Yeah,
so invest in gold bars. That's
so
what it is.
That's what our advice is to everybody that's watching. Find as many gold bars as you can, and hoard them in your studio apartments, where you're already in trouble for holding as many board games as you hold in your studio apartment.
This is a fire hazard, people.
We're kind of nearing the end here. We've talked about the board game. We've talked about our beer, which is almost finished at this point. I did want to point out that the Game of Life starts off either choosing a career or going to college.
It's pretty limited.
There's a lot of other things to do with your life other than just start a career right away. go to college. College was a great experience for both of us.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have met my wife without college. So yeah, do encourage college, but there's a lot of other options out there. And we ended the game in retirement. So here's what we're gonna do with Bruin Boards. At the end of every episode, we kind of talked about the game a little bit, but this is gonna be pretty much the norm. We're gonna introduce the game. We're not gonna play it, but we are going to rate it because why not? All right, so we're gonna get into the official rating for the Game of Life. So this is the officially labeled Bruin Boards rating. Bruin Boards. This is a selfish plug. I've already talked about it a little bit. At Bruin Boards, we do board game events here in Brooklyn. Alex here is a member. He signed up.
You should join.
You should definitely join
It's
if
fun.
you live in the area. The vision is to spread it as far as it can go. We want to have Bruin Boards game nights in Indiana, Michigan, LA, Hawaii, Germany, maybe.
Alaska.
Yeah, Finland,
Zimbabwe.
the moon. We want to be everywhere. Basically it's a community of gamers that want to drink beer and play board games and hang out together and be social and do things like this, which is fun. So the official Bruin Boards rating, thank you. It's 5.7.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's not. So here's kind of the scale.
Man,
right?
you're a tough
Yeah.
tough critic.
Yeah. But so the thing is, 5.7 isn't that bad.
Out of how many?
Out of 10. So yeah, sorry, we should probably start with that. 1 to 10.
If I took a quiz as a kid and I got a 5.7 out of 10, I would have been a miserable failure.
But that's not the scale. That's not the same scale.
Oh, okay. All right.
Not the same scale. It's 1 to 10. Basically, 1 through 4 are probably games that we wouldn't recommend. That I probably wouldn't even have on the show.
Okay. All right.
That's probably what I might recommend.
Okay. All right.
5 to 8, so 5 to 6 are kind of those games that kind of everybody knows and loves, or it's a game that's kind of under the radar, but it's good, but there's some things about it that are just kind of basic or boring or whatever.
Okay.
It's games that if they were brought out in a game night that we would be like let's see what else we can play before we have to get stuck with this game.
Okay.
So that's kind of where this fell in. It's a popular game. A lot of people know it. It's probably a game that a lot of you have played. It's kind of this kind of basic Candyland, follow the path. There's not a lot of strategy involved. So yeah, it's a 5.7. I think it's a perfect combination.
But why 0.7? That's so specific.
There is a rating scheme. So there's 10 categories that we judge off of.
Okay.
I don't want to get into the details of each category. I want
Okay.
to keep that kind of like the secret sauce.
Ooh.
All right, Bruin Board's secret sauce. # secret sauce.
Huh. I just now want Chick-fil-A because all I
Yeah.
can think of is Chick-fil-A sauce.
Right. Actually, let's just stop doing this right now.
All right. Chick-fil-A. Here we go.
We have to go stand in line though. That's how it is in New York. You
Never
stand
mind.
in line for Chick-fil-A.
There's actually a Chick-fil-A in New York, believe it or not.
There's 2, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. We just gave them a
But you
plug.
do stand in line.
We gave a plug for
Chick-fil-A not a sponsor.
It is not a sponsor.
Neither is Goose Island or Corona.
No.
Anything or
That's
Life. So nothing's a sponsor at this point. Sponsors are more than welcome. Anyway, so we'll stop there. But what were we talking about?
We were talking about 0.7. Why 0.7?
0.7. So there's a 10 categories.
Okay.
So we rate it 1 through 10 in each category.
Okay.
All right, and then we basically average it all up.
Okay.
So that's where you get.
And then 5.7.
Yeah, that's where you get it.
I think that is comparatively low. That's like the tepid recommendation level. I get it.
It kind of is. Yeah.
I get where you're kind of like, it's like an obligatory one to be on a shelf. It's kind of like people having the book, I don't know, like Les Mis or something on the bookshelf. Where it's,
Okay.
or like a Charles Dickens book where everyone's like, oh, I love Charles Dickens. And
I think
you're
it's more like having Twilight on your shelf.
Ooh. Oh, that's actually a much better analogy.
I mean, it is.
Yeah, because Dickens is actually good writing.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I should say it's, well, anyway.
We're not being sponsored by Milton Bradley.
No, it's true.
No.
Nor Twilight.
Nor
at
Twilight.
this point. Anyway, to me, you know what the important part about life is to me? Is at least
It's very deep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Especially if you're a kid and you're learning, because I remember playing this with as a kid with my family. Now,
Right.
it obviously
The level of nostalgia.
promotes very generalized stereotypes about how one's life goes.
Right.
Which in my mind, it's like it kind of cements things that may not necessarily be true.
Right.
Especially if you play this like remotely outside of American suburbia, which again, suburbia in America looks different depending on where you live.
Everywhere.
But I will say the one handy thing about this is that it creates narrative for kids' minds, which is a really cool thing to learn.
Yep.
But it also teaches how to play the rules.
Right.
Whereas like a game like chess or Stratego or Risk takes a little more skill and finesse to actually be able to play the game. So in this, I would, if it was me judging, I'd make it, I don't know, 6.5. Not much higher, but yeah, a little higher.
It does introduce. I mean, we didn't even talk about the money, but there is money over here.
There is money involved,
so
there
it does
is
kind
math.
of introduce you. I mean, I like it as an introduction. I like it as a kids game.
Yeah.
I like if I was rating it as a kids game,
It would be higher.
it would definitely be higher.
Okay, all right.
But I think in the grand scheme of board games, I think that's where it belongs.
Okay.
But yes, we're open to.
So 5.7.
So I give it 5.7. You give it a what? 6.5.
6.5.
6.5.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Not that much higher, but
somebody out there on the internet can probably do math better than I can and put those two together, and that's what our score is.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it'd be a 6.1, but I might not be.
So that plus that, this plus this
equals
divided by 2. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Guys, that's our episode pretty much. The game of life and our beer of life and pretty much our lives. That's our introduction to everything. We drank all of our beer, which is a good sign.
Hold on.
It's a good sign. Actually, we didn't drink all of our beer. So, so basically, before we get into the celebration of our first episode, we do want to say basically that we're going to be doing this every month. So
Every month.
the plan, the schedule is to once a month. We are going to do a video. We're going to have a new game every single time. We're going to have new beer every single time. We're going to kind of do the same thing. Talk about the beer, talk about the board game. But more than anything else, we're going to probably go down a lot of different rabbit holes like we did this time, which is really what we prefer. So we'll do a board game rating. We'll reference the beer and the game throughout the conversation, but it's more about just us hanging out and just and being social and inviting you to follow along with us. So, without any further ado, do you want to?
Yeah.
I'll do this.
Let's introduce the beer. So while Rich is getting the beer for what is going to be coming next week. Sorry, when I say next week, I mean next month.
Yes.
One thing I did want to say is just, of course, this being the first one, it's always great to like, subscribe, and comment. Share this with your friends. Tell it to your family. If you're a part of some board game member societies that exist out there, by all means, please share it with your friends there. We are very excited for what's to come, and we hope that you have a great rest of your day and that you may see life a little differently because of this episode. What do we have?
We have a 2016 Belgian-style farmhouse ale from Goose Island. Not a sponsor, again. But this is a very, very fancy beer.
Looks like a wine bottle.
It looks like champagne. I was a little concerned that it might burst. I was like that doesn't make any sense, but it's just the shape of it makes it feel like I should be pointing it somewhere.
I almost got hit by a champagne.
Did you really?
Yeah, it was only about a month ago.
Was it New Year's?
I felt the breeze whisk past my my ear.
Was it New Year's?
No, it was not New Year's. It was in May.
We're gonna start you off with that.
That's probably a smart idea.
Okay.
I got a bike home, so.
Yes. Ooh.
And
so Alex is a big biker. If you see anybody riding around Brooklyn, if you're from Brooklyn, on a city bike with a huge backpack full of board games, that's me. I've been biking.
Congratulations. I'm just very excited.
You're my inspiration.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
We'll
we can get into this later, folks who are watching, but biking in New York is actually a lot more enjoyable than you'd think.
It's very thrilling.
And yes, thrilling is a great word for it.
Yeah.
But also, it's a great way to see the city in the summer. What do we got?
This smells great. All right. Are you ready for this?
Cheers.
So until next time,
Be happy.
brew hoppy.
Game
Game
on.
on. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
I don't think I've ever had this before.
That is bizarre.
Tastes like...
It is carbonated.
It is. It's sort of sour.
It's very sour.
I'm not sure if I like
I'm
it
not
or
sure I
not.
like it either.